What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. I am Eric. On the bar for review today, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof 12-year-old bourbon, batch B520. As always here on the channel, I'm going to give you a nose taste finish review of this whiskey, tell you a bit about the value, give you my final thoughts, final score, and leave you with a malt musing. But first, a bit about Elijah Craig. So, the Elijah Craig line comes out of Heaven Hill Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, and is named after one of the fathers of bourbon. Elijah Craig, a reverend in the 1800s, was known to be the first person to use a charred oak barrel for aging whiskey. So he's had a huge impact on bourbon, and this bourbon itself carries his name. This batch in specific, this is the second release of their 3 releases they do annually of their barrel proof whiskey. This one coming in at 63.6% ABV, so a little bit lower than the batch, was a little over 68% back in January. The B, of course, stands for the second release of the year. There's an A, a B, and a C. 5, which is the month. This was made and released in May, and 20 for the year 2020. As always, 12 years old, non-chill filtered. Little bit of a label change this time. They have added some additional language here on the front saying it's uncut straight from the barrel without chill filtration. So they've changed the logo just slightly, but other than that, exact same. All right, that's the rundown on Elijah Craig bourbon. Let's get this in the glass. As with all bourbon, there is no color added. So this is what you are looking at. Really nice. Okay, let's get this on the nose. Here we go. Leather, tobacco. It's a little bit of a sawdust note, some sweetness. I'm gonna say kind of like apple, maybe. A little bit of an alcohol bite, but not too much. There's also kind of almost like a s'mores note. You're getting a little bit of like graham cracker marshmallow, which is quite nice. It smells rich and sweet. Bit of cinnamon, kind of baking spice in the background too, maybe even a hint of clove. Sweet, spicy, delicious. Let's give it a taste. Cheers, y'all. Despite this coming in at almost 64% ABV, this one really, really creamy, gentler on the nose, on the mouthfeel than some of the earlier releases at higher ABV that have a bit more alcohol bite. This one comes in very oily, rich, dense, coats your mouth completely. Big flavors, as you would expect from a barrel proof whiskey. Vanilla, caramel, dark chocolate, spice, the classic bourbon notes, turned up to 11, hitting all the right buttons. There's also a little bit of a, I just want to say amaretto, maybe a bit of an almondish coffee bean. So it goes into the finish, which is very long, creamy, sweet. Starts to dry a bit at the end, dark chocolate. Really good. You know, compared to some of the earlier releases, this one, it's almost like a much more rounded, balanced experience. Where with other releases, you kind of get a bit more of a heavy, punchy alcohol hit. This one seems almost made for the palate, even at this high ABV. But let's put some water on it and see what else we get. Doing about a teaspoon here, give or take. Oh, back in on the nose, delightful caramel. Kind of like a burnt sugar. Again, that slight leather note is there. The apple. Spice is kind of taking a step back. But all in all, still really great on the nose. Go in for another taste here. Wow. So rich, intense. Caramel, chocolate, toffee, vanilla, cinnamon is there. Brown sugar coming through more strong now with the addition of water. And as it glides into that long finish again, almost like a cocoa powder, almost like the cocoa powder you get from hot chocolate. That apple note is in the background, just kind of rounding things off a little bit here, but really, really impressive. This is a strong, strong release from Heaven Hill in their Elijah Craig Barrel Proof line. I have to get another taste of this. Immediately when it hits the tongue, it is just so rich and oily, full flavor. And unlike some barrel proof whiskeys, which are really hot and edgy as it goes into development, this one carries through really nice, creamy and rounded off. Okay. A bottle of this is going to run you anywhere from 65 on the low end to even close to 85 on the higher end, sometimes even higher than that. Despite that average price in that $70, $75 range, I think this is a high value whiskey, no doubt about it. You're just not going to get the quality that you get here in a lot of other barrel proof releases, even though you're starting to see more with a higher age statement. As I said, this is 12 years. This one in particular, much like any in the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof line, are must buys when you see them on the shelf. I think this is good at nearly any price, under 100. So great value here. So final thoughts. Batch B520 is a standout in their range. I am really, really impressed with this one. I'm very glad I bought 2 bottles of this. I may need to go get more. This one is probably one of the best releases they've done in the last 2 years, which is a really high bar considering they have not had a weak release in years. I commend them for keeping this at a reasonable price. And while it's not always the easiest thing to get your hands on, when you do, you will never be disappointed. But this one, I think, as I mentioned, what's special about this is how palatable it is at almost 64% ABV. The flavors are just nice, rounded. You get really dense, intense flavor profile on this. Hits all the right notes of a classic bourbon. While it's not the most complex thing in the world, this is what bourbon should be. And so I am going to enthusiastically give this a 5 out of 5. I recommend that you get a bottle of this as soon as you can. And this one should always be on your shelf, as it is probably one of the best bourbons you're going to get your hands on for a top shelf bourbon under $100. Even this would challenge some that are higher than that. So high praise for batch B520. Go out and get your hands on this. I know I'm going to enjoy the rest of this pour and the rest of this bottle. So we'll see how long it lasts. So there you have it. That is my review of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch B520. If you've yet to, hit subscribe. I do whiskey reviews every Friday, live happy hours every Tuesday. So that will ensure you do not miss a thing. And with that, I'm going to send you on over to your malt musing, and we will catch you next time here on Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. Cheers, everybody.